All right, it's now time for raising funds for World Domination, day number 292. Okay, once again, there are no updates on the anticipated appeal from the landlord. There is still one more sponsored block type available in the Shopify Store. And today I actually did some recording for the next long form video. And continuing on, we will continue tonight with work on the terminal block mining simulation game. So yesterday, I got the block mining game running with a startup that has no active connections to any worlds, and then I got to the input dialog form finished and working to open a connection to a block world, and then also an authorized connection, which is going to represent a player connection to the world. So that was working yesterday. The UI kind of needs some work, but okay, so it's connected now. And submit. And then I think I remember if I do escape, it'll crash. Yep. And I think this is the culprit here. So it makes sense that would be null at that point, but why is that frame why is that frame even started? I'm not even sure how that thread got launched. Oh yeah, it's because of this. How much have we raised so far? I think I don't know if the exact total. It was. It was last I really thought about it. It was around $3,000 or so. So probably like around 3.5 or so. It's pretty much gone down to zero. I think I only make maybe like it's zeros most days, and some days it's 10 or 20 bucks in the odd day, which I guess is not surprising. It was there was a fair amount of super chats early on, but people get tired of watching someone program every single day for 300 odd days. Bro's finna make a new AI PIC. It's the algorithm. Yeah, it seems first time I've seen one of your lives in like 4 months. Yeah, I started posting more shorts, and it seems like actually I got a super chat in the last few days, which I haven't in a while. And I also got some super thanks. It almost seems like if I just post more, YouTube knows either AI's like either like the internet is more fake than we realize, and that like these are just like fake users that send fake donations, or YouTube knows who is likely to give like super thanks and stuff, and if I start posting more, then it sends those users to view the stream or watch my content. I used to come to them regularly. Maybe worth experimenting with the virtual lives instead of this setup. Still spamming those for maybe worth experimenting with virtual lives. Virtual lives. I'm not sure what that is. Vertical. Yeah, I guess I could experiment with more content and stuff, but actually it's on my to-do list to like fix the setup, but then it's also on my to-do list to get around to experimenting with AI coding, which I don't. I'm getting closer to that. The last video I put out, I think that one's I want to put stuff out that's going to be like relevant and evergreen and a bit more meaningful. So that's why I spent so much time on that last video. And there's a couple other like follow-up pieces of content I want to do on it. And also, it's easy to just make a couple of shorts out of it. So I did that as well. I've been doing this on vertical lives. I'm coding on vertical lives. I don't know, probably be hard to see. Just switching the setup to vertical. Yeah, I don't know, maybe it would trigger the algorithm and promote it more. We show it to 20x more people. Oh really? Wow. I don't know. Initially when I first started streaming, I had like 100 concurrent viewers for a bit. And then I guess I don't know, this whole streaming thing has been an experiment. I actually lose subscribers from streaming. So it may I don't know, this may not be it may make sense to do them less frequently, maybe do the different content, or just like sit and talk to people or something. Do them, I don't know, once a month or something. I'll keep going till it's gonna be a 1 year soon, so I guess I might as well get to the 1 year mark. It's only 65 plus, only like 70 days left. This is the culprit. Let's see. Okay, it's calling the init method. I guess there's something wrong with how it's initializing the interface. Is AI going to replace programming? From what I've seen so far, not yet. Like it's still it's going to radically change it. So there's specific cases where, like, there's all kinds of quotes people are saying, like, we're using AI and AI is writing 90% of our code. But in some places, like, you might be writing a lot of code that's like a boilerplate. You're caught, like, depending on what you're developing, if you're doing like web pages or something, you might just create a new web page by copy pasting an existing thing, and you change a couple titles and stuff because it's templated and it's all HTML. So everything, like, you can write an HTML document that's wrong and it'll still render. But then other stuff, like stuff that has requires like more discrete knowledge in it, where like everything has to be precise. AI is not as good at that if it hasn't seen a lot of samples. Like a really optimized memory copy function or something is, I think, a good example of something AI is not good at doing correctly. Like, it'll give you something that looks like a memory copy function, but it'll just be subtly wrong in some weird way. I think there are also, like, questions, 10, 15 years away. I think the next wave of training data is going to be from people using large language models and stuff, because just like watching people coding and then using that as data points. Of course, that's going to be used as, like, to make the models better. But the question is, how fast will that converge? Do we need like 10 months of data from that, or do we need 10,000 years? Computers will be like computers from Star Trek. Yeah, they are getting there. The NDXCZ says, "Hey dude, how you doing? How's it going?" Joseki says, bonsoir. How's it going? So for now, let's just comment this out. Where do you work at? I work for my business. Going, well, do I have a stinking cold? Oh, that sucks. I've managed to avoid colds for a while. Do you think after bootstrapping the CPU and building a kernel, the next thing is to integrate an AI, like Star Trek computer, and have the AI rewritten the kernel? Those all sound like fun things, but I don't know. You gotta. It's important to make money. Right now, that's what I'm focused on. I mean, did not crash. So it doesn't have a player position. So this thing might be missing subscriptions. Business models, etc., are a remarkably difficult thing to study. Every time I've tried to study business online, it's just a bunch of really boring garbage. It seems to be self-promotion. Yeah, that is a common theme. If someone goes into business and then they realize, wow, it's so hard to do business. I'll make so they're just like, I will learn and develop a business at the same time. So they learn some basic stuff for some books, read some books, and they become a actually the black hole of businesses is becoming like a business coach, where people who have no idea what they're doing just like, I mean, there are people who've successfully bootstrapped something from that. You can get some, what it kind of effectively will amount to is like peer support, and then you get a little bit of money, and then eventually you either use that money to build a real business, or you do that for years and years, and then you become like a speaker. You do motivational speaking for a living, which is kind of a depressing thing to do. Bitcoin. Those are some random quotes. Bitcoin, Epstein. AI is the first thing every programmer writes. I'm not sure about that. Hello World. That's a bit closer. AI is turned into AI is turned into like movies, like whatever happens to economy. People still go to movies because it costs less. Same with AI subscription. People still go to movies. Well, I don't know about that. I can't even remember the last time I went to a movie. No one realizes you can go to them for free. Not to my knowledge. Print Hello World is an AI. I think you're overestimating your programming ability there. It's interesting. There's a sort of default meta around nearly every activity. It's like writers make the main character a writer. Business people make a business where you learn business. I think it's kind of it is actually like something that does make sense a lot in business is to like be like vertically integrated, and like if you can solve multiple problems at once. And it also makes a bit of sense mathematically, because there's a tax advantage to it, which is it can actually have like a mathematically big advantage. So for example, Amazon Web Services started as basically their own internal service that they needed, and they decided like, hey, let's make this as like a very generic service, and then we will use it to host our own stuff, but also we'll make the API public facing, and then we can make money from that. So then they built a business at basically their own unused server time. So that made them more money with the infrastructure they had. But it also meant it made them their own customer. So for example, they wouldn't have to pay hosting costs. But then also there's like, they're saving the tax, so there's a whole bunch more margin there. And so if you can build a business model solving your own problem, which is kind of why it's so difficult to bootstrap, because if you already have a business, you can just develop a small business that serves your own business. And I guess that's kind of what some of these coach people are doing. They're like, I gotta market my business. I don't know how to do it. I know, I'll just teach people how to market businesses. And then they just learn how to do marketing. They learn how to do their own marketing, but then they just, whenever they learn stuff or see stuff that works, they just immediately filter that back into their own marketing about marketing. Free think, free art, free media, freedom. Singularity. All right. Okay, let's figure out why this thing does not have a player position. Code equals world Domination, question mark? I guess it's a part of it, part of the process. So there's some kind of race condition going on. That's a blocking method, I think. So this should be called immediately when the thread is launched. It shouldn't be able to go down here and catch that null pointer exception. I genuinely think there is a return to a pre-dominated internet where everything isn't so centralized. It probably will go that way in the future. We're gonna have like a federated, every country and region stuff is gonna partition off their own internet. That would actually make the internet more interesting in a way, because then you'd have to like hack into another internet. You know, I bet, like I think we actually don't really get a lot of insight into, like the Chinese internet and stuff, like what's going on there, or the Russian internet. Everything is in memes now, so it's hard to understand anything. What does this code parse? Web3? No, this is a terminal-based video game. So it's got a frame change work item. There should be an initialization work item. Yeah, so this here should make it so that that's literally the first message that the thread actually processes. So it should not, and that would make it get to player position. Did you ever play Club Penguin? I did not. Is it a code exercising game? No, it's a terminal-based It's a game where you simulate the process of mining blocks of iron ore in an infinite, procedurally generated universe. There's some. If you check the GitHub link in the description, there's some links to the YouTube videos. And there's some other videos on my channel. But the it's just search for a block game. Let's see, what is the fastest way to figure out why this happens? Well, maybe it is retrieving it and it's null. That would explain it. Can I contribute in your project? Like code contributions? No, I don't take any code contributions. Why don't you use an IDE, breakpoints to debug? I do occasionally use. That's all I use the IDE for. I'm kind of lazy to start it up because this computer's slow and it takes literally like 5 minutes to open it up and put a breakpoint on it. It's also multi-threaded, so it's a bit. There's like a whole thread orchestration thing, so that makes it a little bit more difficult. I have to figure out which thing to breakpoint on. Let me just do this quick check. So if this is null, this will explain everything. long have you been working on it? A couple of years now, I guess. Part-time. I should change the default. Do you have a Discord server? People ask me about setting up one. I did have one set up. So someone set up one, and then I decided to set up like the official one and just link off to the other discussions. But at this point, I probably won't. There is one. If you go to my channel, there's a link to the Discord, and if you click it, it'll say invalid link. And if you delete the very last character, you'll get to the real link to my Discord server. But I don't really. There were some people there that posted a few things, but it doesn't really seem like there's much of a community there. All right, it is null. That explains everything. That should be better. Should be through a message. Okay, I guess. It's kind of annoying because basically there's a race condition here where it asks the other thread for the player position. It's null, and so it tries to use that in null pointer exceptions. What I'd like to have is this should block, and then so this would never return. It would just block this thread, and then it would not process subsequent work items until it actually has a valid player position, and that would remove all kinds of null pointer exceptions checks. It's going to be a lot of work to refactor that better. This will be a bit of work to make this work right, but I probably should do it. Because it's going to be, otherwise it's going to be a nightmare of like early thread, a nightmare of synchronization issues with early thread initialization. I don't think I could code the way you are. The screen is a bit too small. I prefer VS Code. Respected though. Yeah, it's yeah, this is it's unpleasant. It actually kind of looks worse on the stream, but it is unpleasant to code like this. I usually I usually have a much bigger screen. Been a very long time since I done Java. Does your app run as a server? Tomcat, something like that. So the client currently there are 3 different like applications. There's the multiplayer client, single player client. I'm in the process of merging those. There's right now there's basically the game runs in 2 main classes: the server block model context class and the client block model context class. For the single player client, I basically have an interface that mashes this client and the server together. So they just do like an in-memory object swap to send messages. In the server, the interface serializes the messages and they go over WebSockets. And part of the refactoring work I'm doing now is to merge the single player client and the multiplayer client together, so it's one executable, and then you specify the connection information, whether it's just like a local connection which doesn't need WebSockets, or the networked one. And in addition to that, there's also a server application that runs in Tomcat, and that hosts the WebSockets interface. So the application itself does not include the web server. So the way it works right now is I compile for the server application. I compile the server end as a WAR file, and then it just gets run like a Tomcat website. And WebSockets is it's just like another HTTP header type, like the upgrade or something. So the actual server itself, you cannot run it like a jar, which would be kind of an ideal thing, is if everything was just packed in one jar. But for now, I'll just go with this model. I don't really want to build a web server. There's probably some way to compile Tomcat into it. I did look into that a bit, but I don't know if I don't know enough about Tomcat internals to make that work. Because ideally it would run as a jar instead of a WAR file, but I'm not sure how to make everything bootstrapped. Hmm. They'll most likely be libraries to help serve files, allow socket connections coming inward. The Tomcat itself, in terms of like the actual all the WebSockets logic and stuff, I haven't written any thing manually about WebSockets. So that part actually already exists and is working. The challenge, the thing I don't know how, like I'm sure there is, like a Tomcat is open source, and theoretically, like I could, if I knew the internals of Tomcat, I could just clone Tomcat and put my stuff in there somehow, and then like talk to whatever interface. I don't know. There's differences in how WAR files are launched versus jars. I just don't know there likely is some way to run the WebSocket library is like in a jar. I could research this a bit more, but at this point I'll just kind of there's a million things I could get distracted with. That's probably not the big win right now. We could just run it as an executable. Ideally I'd run it just as a jar. Like right now the game runs as a jar file, and I'm sure it is possible to do that, to like whatever logic is working in Tomcat web server, to like repurpose that so it just runs in one jar. I just don't know how to bootstrap that and what kind of interface I have to talk to. I'm sure I could learn, but I remember Googling for this and looking it up, and it was not like obvious and easy. There's also I would actually like to upgrade some of the packages, so it's on like there's actually a nightmare of dependencies where I want to upgrade the dependencies, and I've actually tried for hours to do this, to upgrade some of the libraries that are out of date. And there's this really nasty like cycle of dependencies and stuff where if I try to upgrade one library, like I think of like a logging library, it doesn't work. It needs Spring to be upgraded, but to upgrade Spring, it doesn't work in this version of Tomcat, so I have to go to Tomcat 10, but then that requires other Spring dependency upgrades, and I was gonna go for it, and then I found that I upgraded to Java. What is it? Java 21, and that Java 21 is like too new for the thing I was trying to do. So it's I'm sure I can get it working. And anyway, so the process of bootstrapping with Spring also interacts with Tomcat API and stuff. And the whole thing is just like a dependency nightmare of things. But eventually I'll figure it all out eventually. But it's a pretty low impact thing at the moment. Okay, so for tonight's progress, I didn't really write much code. I guess this will be my contribution tonight. I think I figured out why it was failing, and it's because of a race condition where it starts up. The player position information is not available. So what it really should do is other threads that are starting up should block. They should request a message to the client and then block. Yeah, that I think should fix it. Like I said, that even if it doesn't fix it, this will fix a category of errors. And the alternative is when other threads start up, they can request information from other threads. If the information is not there, it'll just have to get it back in null. And now I have to account for the fact that some information could be null, so I need 10,000 null checks everywhere. But if I can guarantee that a method only runs when the information is populated, that dramatically simplifies the program. And to do that, I will do these 3 pieces of work on the next stream for day 292. All right, that'll be it for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow night. Have a good night, everyone.